So this course is here to help give us an understanding of the basic principles of natural medicine, of holistic medicine, so we can implement them in our life and use them and craft a lifestyle around these principles. This is the first module in the Mother Health School course, which has got 10 modules. I've distilled it down to the 10 core areas that I think we need to study, that we need to have a look at and have a good understanding on as a foundation then to build our health, whether we're trying to unravel a health malady that we might have, some sort of illness or something that's problematic, or we just want to continue expressing health on an ever-expanding level. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and please join the community, get involved, send your questions through. Module 1 is philosophy. And so that's what we start with, the philosophy. This is a roadmap. This gives us direction, and this helps us orientate ourselves. It helps us frame the malady we might have, or frame the situation we have in context to something greater, a philosophy. What happens when you haven't got a philosophy? Well, we're seeing it in our culture right now. We have a culture, a community of not sick but not well, not suffering a diagnosable disease perhaps, but far from healthy, because we have not got a definition of health. We have not got a philosophy of health. So this is what happens. You end up with not sick but not well. You're lost in the middle. Another reason we want a philosophy is because time is finite. We have a finite amount of time on this planet. People can run 20, 30, 40 years, even a whole lifetime without stopping and reflecting on what they are, who they are, about their health. And on that note, we need to realize that a lot of chronic degenerative diseases, they take years, decades to build up. Alzheimer's takes 20 years. It takes a long time of insulin resistance and toxic buildup and this and that before we end up with what we know as Alzheimer's, an end stage of ill health that was brewing from small signs and symptoms, bigger. This course is about helping us identify and respect signs and symptoms, work with the natural intelligence of the body, what we call vitalism, and change in a way where the body is healing, where the body is mending itself and growing in health. What is health? If we're going to focus on health, it's very important that we can define it, that we can define what health is. Because health is not the absence of disease. You can't define health by saying what it is not. It is not having a chronic degenerative disease, a diagnosis. No, that's not health. Health is the freedom of expression on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level. I'll say that again, it's the freedom of expression on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level. So there's multiple levels. All of these levels are interconnected, interrelated. You cannot take one out without it affecting the other one. You see, so we have to understand that these different areas are like spokes on a wheel. You take one spoke out and that wheel is going to flatten on one area and then not start to roll, not start to flow. And if it's not rolling and it's bumping, that's disease. There's a problem. You're not going to feel satisfied. There's something wrong. When we get all of these spokes strong, we nourish these spokes, we account for the weakest ones, and we start to hit a flow in life. And this is self-mastery, this is health mastery. For us to do that, we need to understand these different areas are all interconnected. So let's unpack our definition of health. The freedom of expression on a physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual level, 5 levels. The first interesting point here is the freedom of expression. The freedom. This tells us that there is an autonomy with health. There is a freedom, a self-sovereignty. You are in control. No one is allowed to penetrate. From the skin in is yours. God-given gift. It's yours from the skin in. You own it. No one's allowed to penetrate that with a needle, with medications, with themselves, anything. From the skin in is yours, and that's the sovereignty. Now, the flip side of that is you must take 100% responsibility for your health. There's no knight in shining armor going to come along and wave the magic wand and gift you health. You have to create it. You have to earn it for a lot of us. Okay, so this is it. We must get, the first part of this is we must take 100% responsibility for our health, and in doing so, we have just taken a whole lot of power. But you've got to believe it. You've got to believe that this is yours. Okay, you've got to find that power within you that you know that's yours. Freedom of expression. Expression of what? Expression of vital force. Takes us to a principle we'll discuss in a minute of vitalism. What is this vital force? It's a self-organizing principle. There's an energy running through us that defines living. It defines the living from the dead. The difference between a steak on a butcher's shelf and a cow is vitalism. One is alive. One has a self-organizing principle that runs through it. If we cut ourselves, a scab forms and healing begins because of vitalism. We break a bone, it mends because of vitalism. We don't have to will into action this healing. We don't have to intellectually bring the aspects together. It happens because of an intrinsic principle of vitalism. All right, so how can we audit ourselves on a physical level? Now, I've chosen these categories. Let's assess ourselves. So number one, a healthy person has strength. A vital force will express itself as strength. What's your grip strength like? Can you hang from a bar for a while? Can you pick things up? What's your strength like? If you have strength, you have an expression of health here. So this is what we need to work on. We need to work on muscle strength because that's going to allow the vital force to flow and you'll get healthier and healthier. So physical strength. This is why it is important to exercise, to have functional movement. A lot of the Japanese cultures have no seats. They sit on the floor. Primitive? Absolutely not. What happens if you have not got seats? You have to stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Done enough jiu-jitsu in my time where we're going from the ground and standing. That's an exhausting process. That is using strength. All right, try it. Try sitting down, standing up, sitting down. It's a simple thing. But we need to, in our philosophy, account for this. We can't be healthy without strength. We can't be healthy without physical adaptability. This is another aspect of the expression of vitalism through the physical. The healthier you are, the greater adaptability you have. The ability to adapt is what has made our species hit the top of the food chain. Okay? The adaptability. This is core. When the body loses its ability to adapt to its environment, to adapt to different situations fluently, we get health problems. How do you know? I don't know if I can adapt. Well, let's practice it. Let's practice it. How fast, how at ease are you? How well can you adapt from warm to cold? How about you end your shower on cold and assess yourself? How do you adapt? How do you adapt? How about fasting? How do you adapt when there's no food? Can you adapt? Have you trained this? See, I have a philosophy here. To prevent dis-ease, you have to train dis-ease. And by training, I mean you put yourself in these uneasy situations and find comfort. Practice it at least. Little bit by little bit, you start to train dis-ease. So when dis-ease comes for you, you're actually stronger than it. So what about fasting? You can't eat. Can you adapt? Can your blood sugar adapt? Can your insulin metabolism adapt? Have you trained it? Have you a trained adaptation? Because if you do intermittent fasting, if you do different forms of fasting, you're training adaptation. You're training a physical attribute of health. Okay, and it definitely makes you stronger. Another aspect of physical health is flexibility. Core principles, foundational principles. Flexibility. A flexible body leads to a flexible mind. And also when we go in further into course, we find out that you actually somatize stress into the body. There's specific forms of stress, specific suppressed emotions, somatize, live in the body. So how flexible are you? Can you touch your toes? How far can you touch your toes? How close do you get? Neck rotation, shoulder rotation, simple audit. See, because the more healthy you become, the more flexibility you should have. The less healthy, the less expression, freedom of expression, it's going to show up in stiffness. We all know when we get angry, we don't become more flexible. When we get angry, irritable, we tense up. How much of this is somatized in the body? How much of this is locked in the body? Simply move your body with the breath. Stretch, remain flexible, allow the vitalism expression. Finally, endurance. On a physical level, expression of health, endurance. How do you endure on a physical level? It's once again, it's another way we can audit our physical health. How long can you walk? How many push-ups can you do? If you're doing high intensity workouts, can you push a little more once you think you've got nothing left? Endurance practice begins now. Let's push a little more. Let's endure a little more. If you're swimming, how far can you swim? Can you go a little further? Can you endure? If you're doing a sauna, can you endure the heat? If you're fasting, can you endure the discomfort of no food? Endurance is a key principle here, and we must train it. Emotional health is the ability to control emotion. Control emotion, not suppress. Not suppress emotion. Now, like when I say control emotion, control how you are with it, in a sense of like a surfer can't control the wave, but they can ride the wave, and they know the wave ain't going to last forever. Emotion's the same way. Say you get angry, good, be angry, but it's the freedom of expression. So when the environment no longer calls for you to be angry, which is simply a trigger to mobilize, there's something in your environment that is not conducive to your well-being, or you're perceiving it that way, so it's time to mobilize. Do it. But then as quickly as possible, we must swing back to a sense of peace, to a sense of clarity. So many people get locked into emotions and they never leave. But we know now that emotions trigger chemicals in the body to get us ready for a certain situation that we perceived. So it's very unhealthy to be locked in negative emotions. And the key for emotional health is to practice gratitude, to practice taking our awareness into areas of positivity, inclusiveness, inspiration, Emotion's a beautiful thing. We really want to cherish it. It gives color to our day. It makes life amazing. Imagine life without emotions. This is not a good life for us. Humans need emotion. But let's be clear. Your emotions bleed into others as well. And this is what emotional health is about, is being able to regulate your emotions. When you're around other people, making sure that you are the uplifting one, that you are the positive one. Addressing our negative emotions, moving through them so we can come back to positive emotions. And then you'll be uplifting with other people. Everything is energy, everything. And emotions vibrate at different rates. And negative emotion is discordant. Very discordant, jaggedy, jagged. Beautiful, coherent, positive emotion is fluid and wave-like. And when other people are in our field of positive emotion, they too are uplifted. Now we see the real benefit of synergy amongst our community, and it's driven by emotion. So let's be clear, it's not about suppressing emotion. It's about having the freedom of expression. So when you no longer want to feel sad, when you no longer want to feel irritated or angry, when the message has been sent, you can now move back into an emotion that better serves you. But let us audit ourselves on an emotional level, on a emotional level. Are we laughing? How often are we laughing? How often are we smiling? How often are we crying tears of joy? That won't be every day, okay? But how often do we get moved? Inspiration is to be at one with God. How often are you inspired? Okay? How often are you trapped in negative emotions of jealousy or anger or negativity, sourness? Are you sarcastic all the time? So this is the audit we do on an emotional level. Mental health, the expression, the freedom of expression on a mental level. What does this mean? Number one, it means to know the difference between the mind and awareness. This is crucial. Many people get lost in this realm. The mind is like a house of mirrors, of smoke and mirrors. It's so tricky. It's so tricky if you do not know the difference between the mind and awareness. There's a great course by Dandapani, dandapani.org. He does a beautiful course on focus and a beautiful course on meditation. 10 years in a monastery, a Hindi monastery, studying. Beautiful, beautiful course he has. And he lays out the definitions very, very early. And it's very helpful. The mind is like a mansion with many, many rooms in it. One room anger, one room happiness, one room irritation, one room jealousy, one room intrigue, one room motivation, you get it. Many rooms of different states of the mind. And it does not move. A house doesn't shuffle its rooms around all the time. A house doesn't flow through different forms. It stays the same. But what we are is pure awareness, like a ball of light, he describes it, like an orb of light that travels around this house into different rooms, and whatever room it moves into, it shines light. It enlightens that room, it experiences that room. When it's in irritation, the room of irritation, it experiences the irritation, it feels the irritation is real. But you can move your orb of light around. You can move it from that room into another room of acceptance or in a room of happiness. And this is very important because that self-awareness does move. We can control that. We can control where our awareness shines. We can do that. And this is the first lesson, the first and most important thing to understand about mental health is that you are not the mind. You are pure awareness that moves around the mind. Now this sets us up for the most important lesson of the whole course. Everything is energy. Nikola Tesla said that. Everything, if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, of which we are obviously a mystery of the universe, you must understand everything in terms of energy, vibration, frequency. Okay? So let us think now. If you are directing your awareness always to the irritability room, the anger room, you're always there. It was indoctrinated into you. You had angry parents. They had angry parents. You do irritate. You're always irritable. If you direct your energy into those rooms, what happens is wherever energy flows, magnetism forms. Magnetism forms. If you have a lot of energy flowing into these rooms day after day, month after month, year after year, it becomes magnetic. Powerfully magnetic. The pull of this room will make it very difficult to get out of. And this is what happens. People do a course, they read a book, they get inspired for a little while. But they can't make the change stick because the magnetism pulls us back. Why? Because they did not understand. You are not the mind. You are awareness. What we need to do is first become aware of where we are in the mind, in that mansion of many rooms. Realize that's not me. I'm awareness, and start to move your awareness to somewhere more helpful, somewhere more positive, somewhere more free, somewhere that's going to serve you greater. Okay? And then the more you repeat that, the more the energy starts to flow that way, the more that becomes magnetic. So number one in mental health is to be simply aware of this, that you are not the mind, you are pure awareness. And wherever you shine that is what becomes real. Now trauma is real, and trauma can potentially lock you in certain areas of that mind. But the escape, the way out, is knowing that every time you go back into that room and your awareness is there, you're magnetizing that room and you're experiencing that trauma, and the subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and unreal, so it starts to release the chemistry of that trauma. It starts to acidify your body. It starts to drive your behavior more into suppression, more into addiction, more into anything that's going to get you through today, because this is a terrible place to be locked in your mind. So the way out is to know that, hey, you are not the mind, you are awareness, and start to take your awareness, if nowhere else, put it on the breath. Put your awareness on the breath and start to breathe. You can control that. And breathe out. And become conscious and aware. Because if you're in trauma and you take your awareness to the breath, I can guarantee you first will discover that you are shallow breathing, that you have locked your breathing in. Break that frozen state of being now with a deep breath. Break that frozen state with a long out breath and engage the parasympathetic nervous system and start to liberate your perception now from the trauma. Know that you are pure awareness and you are now making a case for your sovereignty. I will choose where my awareness goes. So what we do is catch ourselves out, and now we start to direct our awareness to where we want it to be. Okay, the breath is the great liberator here. Great liberator here. So, step one is to understand you are not the mind. You are not the mind. You are pure awareness. The next step is to understand that we all suffer from cognitive distortions, and we must bring our awareness there to catch ourselves out on these negative, distorted ways of thinking. All or nothing. You know, this person doesn't think I'm the greatest and they must think I'm terrible. No, that's a distortion. Let's get rid of that. Let's crystal ball thinking. This person did not know that I like this, even though I never told them, so therefore they're a bad person or don't like me. No, they have not got a crystal ball. They can't read your mind. It does not mean that. That's a distorted thinking, a cognitive distortion. Later in the course, we study the top 10 cognitive distortions so we can empower ourselves and liberate ourselves. So mental health is the ability to direct our awareness and to hold it places with concentration. So what's an audit we do here? We start to self-reflect. Where am I spending most of my time? What room in the mind do I mainly hang? Secondly, how strong is my concentration? How long can I hold my concentration onto something? Because without concentration, you cannot hold your awareness somewhere. The awareness is like a horse that hasn't been trained. You might want to steer it this way, but it's going to go over there and then just put its head down and eat the grass. And if you don't know how to ride a horse, you're just going to be sitting there while it's eating the grass over there. And you've got to learn to control your awareness and then hold it to where you want. And that's concentration. So we learn and practice concentration. This is where meditation comes in. It's a muscle. Concentration is a muscle. And so what we do is we practice concentration. Only 2 minutes. 2 minutes in the concentration world is massive. You hold your concentration. You concentrate your awareness somewhere for 2 minutes. You'll last 10 seconds and it'll wander. That's okay. You bring it back. For 2 minutes, I'm concentrating my awareness on my breath. It's a muscle. The more you do it, the more you build concentration. The stronger the concentration, the more you can control your mind, your awareness, your body. This is key. Why? Where awareness goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, the magnetism grows. And so we need the controlling mechanism here is a concentration and willpower. You got to want it. You got to want health. You got to have a thirst for health. You got to really want it. You got to want to change. You got to want to change more than just staying the same. The saying is that until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, you ain't going to make a change, because it takes energy to change. It takes energy and willpower to make a change. Why? Because magnetism pulls you back to what you have repeatedly done. Dandapani, the great Hindu teacher, in his course, he makes it clear, if you've practiced distraction your whole life, you'll be a master of distraction. If you distracted your whole life, you'll become a master of distraction. You have to undo that. You do it step by step, slowly by slowly. We're practicing concentration. It will make your mental health so much better. Freedom of expression on a social level. Social health. Very, very important. What do we mean by that? To keep it simple, it means the ability to find rapport with people and to simply connect in a healthy way. Healthy connections where you're celebrating positivity or celebrating something great. The ability to feel connected to something greater than yourself. The ability to feel connected to others and feel a part of a group, a part of a family. This is very, very important in health. You cannot have holistic health without feeling connected to a group, feeling connected to your family, feeling connected to your community, your society. Social connection is very important. Humans are not individual beings. We're part of a collected, greater superhuman organism. We're cells in a greater superhuman organism. When we're a part of a group, we are healthier. Now, we actually need each other. You cannot have holistic health without others to form a group where you feel a part of them. You know you have a part to play in this group. and you are dependent on others playing their part in the group. So you are both dependent and depended on. This gives meaning and purpose to your life, and it is an X factor in health. Social health is powerful. Powerful. If you want to heal from cancer, if you're going to heal, you need holistic vitality. You need all these spokes lined up. You need the holism. You need a community that are dependent on you, and you are dependent on them. This one aspect. We need to audit our social health. We need to know where we're at socially. We need to join groups. What is it that you love? Join that group. Join groups where you have a common denominator. And that way you have rapport straight up. You have a genuine love for something, you'll find rapport straight away. You have something in common. The ability to find rapport, it means you have to merge a little bit. You have to put your barriers down. You have to open up. You have to be a little vulnerable. All right? And you got to merge a little bit. And then we can all understand each other a little bit. Find your group. Find your tribe. This is important. Finally, spiritual health, the freedom of expression on a spiritual level. This is pretty much for you to discover, but it will be something where you feel a part of something greater than yourself, greater than your own awareness of just yourself, your little self. Spiritual health is where you feel a part of something greater. If you're spiritually healthy, you will have a disciplined way of living. You will have an ability to say no to things that you know don't serve you, because spiritual health comes at throwing something overboard, letting go of things that no longer serve you so you can bring something in that serves you greater. You can release the egoic way a little more to bring in a more of the unified field, the Godhead, the oneness. You've got to be, spiritual progression comes from letting go of little addictions, letting go of little things that they don't really serve you, to make room for more spirituality, a greater connection to something. So you can't get through that eye of a needle if you take your ego and all your desires with you. You've got to let a lot of that go. And this is your journey. I am not a spiritual teacher here, so I'm not going to sit here and teach you that. There's something for you to discover and find your own teachers here. But bear in mind, we need to read and study spiritual texts, listen to people, and find what inspires us. Find our path, and that will change. There's a beautiful proverb of someone that needs to cross a river. So they gather sticks and they gather rope and they make a raft. They make a raft because they need to get to the other side of the river. And they spend time crafting this raft, learning how to make it, learning from people how to make a raft. They build a raft and they travel across that river to the other side. And then they strap that raft to their back and keep walking across the desert. Eventually someone's going to say, why are you carrying that raft? This is my spirituality. No, that was a tool you used to get across the river. You must let it go now. It's no longer going to serve you. So it's key in your spiritual progress to always be auditing that. Does this still serve my journey? Am I worshipping the tool? Am I worshipping false idols here? There's plenty of nourishment for spirituality, but you must be accounting for it. And that's your thing. We don't go spruiking it around. You don't go telling everyone and preaching to everyone. This is your personal belief systems that must fill you up and nourish you. But believe in something greater, and that'll serve you.